All right, what's up, peeps? Hi, everybody. Welcome in. I'm Jeff. That's Bryan Broaddus, 105.3 The Fan. Love the Star podcast. Botch on Fridays. Foots is around sometimes. Brian's on with everybody. Brian's a beast. And Brian, it's 9 a.m., not even 9 a.m., and Brian's already watched film of the game. I've watched 11 snaps of film of the game. Brian has watched all of them. After watching.
Yeah.
Does it feel any better or any worse than it felt watching that thing live?
Feel a little better about kind of having an understanding of how it all broke down. Want to give the Saints some credit. I know this drives people nuts, but you want to give them some credit for having an idea of how they wanted to attack the Cowboys and their ability to give you a look where you're thinking that maybe it is going to be this. And then instead, most teams will line up and try and handle Parsons or your edges with chips. And this team plays with a fullback a lot. And so what happens is you play a lot of base defense, which is something that a lot of teams, these teams play so much nickel nowadays and play a lot of dime. So this team makes you play base because of playing with a fullback, whether that's with Taysom Hill or that's, with Foster Moreau, the tight end, or Prentice, the fullback, the true fullback. So it's a good scheme that way because you're not used to having to play that much. But I liked what they did with they'll set their fullback or their H to one side and then snap over or pre-snap move him to get in position to block, or at snap will bring him all the way across in order to create where it allows the tackles to free up, and then you've got a fullback and an H or a move tight end blocking on the edge. And it's for Micah Parsons, he's thinking, I'm going to get single blocked here, or Tank, I think I'm going to get single blocked here. And all of a sudden the move comes from the other side and you're like, oh, damn, they're doubling us here. So it's a little bit of a kind of a shock to your system of like you're thinking, okay, I've got this thing one-on-one. Instead, I'm dealing with now a fullback. Now I'm dealing with an H. Boy, they did a really good job of handling your linebackers in this game. They made the screen pass was a really timely call. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the defensive coordinator, the OC, for the right call. And that was the right call because you catch a blitz coming from, the opposite side of the screen. But everybody's like, man, you should have put, Micah should have been on Kamara, da-da-da-da-da. Well, you had Kendricks on Kamara, and I'll take my chances with that. Kendricks overran the play. And now you have a bad angle from Carson, and now it's a 57-yard touchdown. So tip of the cap. And a really, really good plan with how to handle you. And play with a lot of physicality up front, too.
We're not comfortable with this, Brian. We can't. Nobody else gets credit. Our team was awful, and everybody has to be fired.
That. Yeah,
I have a question about the linebackers because you mentioned the reason for it, right?
Yeah.
Because I noticed, and I feel like a lot of people noticed watching the game, hey, DeMarvion Overshown made a bunch of plays last week, and man, he doesn't seem like he's out there because he doesn't play in their base defense. In their base defense, they go Kendricks, Leafau, and Damone Clark.
Right.
And in nickel is when Overshown plays.
Right.
Does Mike Zimmer have to figure out this week, okay, the Overshown can play football with three linebackers on the field. We can't let a team just based on personnel eliminate a guy who can make a bunch of plays.
You're going to be somewhat disappointed watching Overshown play the snaps he played. He wasn't nearly as good as he was last week. There was some hesitation to his game. The Saints did a really good job of blocking your front. Your defensive tackles, your edges didn't really help the linebackers. There were a lot of free runs on your linebackers in this game. It wasn't the prettiest game for anybody that was playing linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. And that includes Overshown. And I'm not here to defend Zimmer, but you're trying to get your best guys on the field, and that's what I was talking about earlier. If you kind of are dedicated to, okay, our base defense is this, and you're playing base, Well, now you have an idea like, well, maybe we need to adjust some things that we're playing in base. Maybe Overshown needs to be on the field more than Clark or Leafau. But yeah, it was a problem in this game because there were several times where you feel like that Overshown could have run and made a play. He overran some stuff. He got hooked a couple of different times. He didn't fight blocks very well. Really, none of your linebackers fought blocks. But man, it's tough to move and to fight blocks when they're right on you. I mean, from the word go, it was. And now you're dealing with crack blocks. You're dealing with wide receiver block. You're dealing with tight end blocks. You're dealing with fullback blocks. Man, they it was a full arsenal of blocks that these linebackers had to deal with. But I'm going to tell you that Overshown, the times that he did get the opportunities, you're going to say, boy, that was a young guy mistake there. Or, boy, he didn't see that particularly well there. So I don't know if he would have particularly made a difference here. It's kind of like, everybody's saying, well, Cowboys didn't run the ball. Well, the Saints didn't allow you to run the ball. The way that they were able to score. The Cowboys, I wanted you to work on the running game last week, trying to kind of figure some things out. And the Saints really took you out of that. But I think when you watch this game, Jeffrey, you're going to see the linebackers was difficult for them in this game.
Well, and it's obviously a combination of things, right? You want guys to play better, but also there's circumstances that determine, especially at linebacker, what you're able to do. And just in real time, obviously you're going to educate us on this, but in real time, like I did notice Eric Kendricks, if it was one-on-one with a blocker, like he was getting blocked, but they're also on you because your defensive tackles are just getting moved. Like is there like that one? There's not a reasonable solution of those guys can play better, is there? Like that's who they are.
Yeah, this was what's really disappointing to me is when I saw Phillips playing at Buffalo last year, he was a more active player. He did a better job of getting off blocks. Did a better job, man. You can watch the Cowboy game, the Kansas City game, the Philadelphia game, all games I watched. He looked like a better football player last year than he did now. Joseph was poor. Phillips was poor. Mozzie was not good where he needed to be. It just wasn't the defensive tackles. A lot of it's predicated on how fast. I mean, if you watch Carolina and the Saints last week, the Saints did a really good job of getting getting their linemen up on linebackers, and you're kind of thinking, well, it's Carolina. They don't have really good personnel.
I didn't count anything they did last week when I was watching them. I'm like, no, they got to play Carolina.
Yeah, it's tough, and that's where this all kind of hinges. That Saints are good when it comes to when they run block. They are good. They mask maybe some deficiencies that they might have. But if their center is good, McCoy, we talked about that really all week. I know on 105.3 The Fan and then Vach and I, when we were doing our breakdowns, we talked about McCoy, the center, being really, really good. And, with Ruiz and Patrick, the guard, he was questionable to play all week. And you're kind of thinking, maybe you catch a break there. But, no, their ability to get bodies up on your linebackers, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that they were able to win quickly along the defensive line. I mean, it wasn't a very good game for Tank. Tank is one of these guys that plays with a lot of awareness, and all of a sudden, he's playing on the right side, and here's the toss, but it's a crack, and you're thinking, man, how many times has Tank seen maybe a tight end or a receiver down? They're playing into the boundary. I mean, it's a toss into the boundary, and you're thinking Tank has seen this crack a million times in his life. And his ability to play outside of it and make it, have to spill maybe back inside. Oh, he gets cracked. They get caught inside. The tackles get pinned inside. The linebackers get pinned inside. They kick your corner. It was a thing of beauty. But to your point, it all really starts with that inside, because they were able to pin your linebackers because of their ability to get blockers up on them. And that was a lot because of your defensive tackles.
Okay, so because I went to the Bryan Broaddus School of Football, I had an idea the day before this game. So what was that, Saturday? And so on Saturday, what I did is I pulled up their tape and I just sorted by, I want to see what New Orleans did on offense on third down, just their third down plays. That's all I want to see.
Sure.
And watching it, I learned basically two things. That they don't care if it's 3rd and 15, 19, whatever. They will try to convert third down. They don't care. They're going to go for it. They're not just going to lay up and lay down.
Sure.
And they're going to do that to Rashid Shaheed. So that was one thing. It was like, okay, keep eyes on him. That's the bomb guy. When they want to make a big play, that's who they're going to, whatever. When they need it on a run play, they run a toss, and it is pin and pull.
Yeah.
It is, they're going to either motion a guy outside your edge, or they're going to have a tight end out there who's spread out. They're going to snap the ball. He's blocking down. A lineman's pulling out to block the next guy. And it's just like, I'm just an idiot with a computer, and I know what they want to do when they got to have it.
Yeah.
And it was just wild to me that they were able to do those exact same things when they got to have it. And it's one game of tape on that offensive coordinator. And how do you not know what they're going to do when they need it, when it's the exact things that were on tape from a week ago?
Well, you said it, the whole thing about the probably a small sample size with this coach for sure, and you're kind of really nothing really to go on. I'm not giving them an excuse, but you're right. There's some things that they absolutely did. I'll tell you where this team is good, and for the second week in a row, is they're really good at using bodies to pull you out of position in order to create windows. If you look at the early play, the Shaheed third down play that was over the middle, they set up a screen action to going to the left. So what happens? It takes Kendricks and the linebackers towards the screen action to the left, and it creates that window where Shaheed runs and stops. And now all Carr has to do is hit him, and it's at first down. He's at 9 yards, but it created a window for him to throw the ball. They did it last week against Carolina with the same thing, but they didn't use. They used instead of a screen look, they just took the Kamara and motioned him, and it created space inside between the linebackers, and then they ran right to the middle and threw the football. So yeah, they've got ways of kind of messing with you by creating space to create windows, and I love stuff like that. Like give me as many easy throws as you can. It was very well done yesterday.
That is probably the hardest part about a game like that is you're watching and you compare and contrast their offense against your offense. And like, okay, how many layups did your offense have where it's like, okay, yep, there's an easy window that we created. We'll just make that throw. Every first down seemed like it was hard.
A battle.
You're going to have to put it on a dot at the sticks, and they're just like, oh yeah, our guy's open again. And maybe it's part of I looked this up this morning. Maybe it's just part of the fact that you're getting your ass kicked and it makes it harder to do certain things.
Sure.
The Saints had 9 play action passes and they threw 16 passes. Yeah. The Cowboys threw 39 passes, 7 were play action. Yeah. Like they're just doing more things that give you a better chance for an easy play. And that could easily be a product of, hey, they were beating your ass and you're not even going to bother.
Yeah, I think that people, to me, it's always going to be with this organization 2 things. Well, actually 3 things. Jerry Jones sucks. They won't be able to stop the run, and Dallas can't run the ball. Those are the 3 low-hanging fruit things.
Well, so, Dak sucks, and $60 million we can't have a team around him because he makes too much money.
That's a good point too. So add that. Where do you want to put that in the power rankings?
It's 1 or 2, brother.
Does Jerry suck more than Dak money? Which one do you think is more?
In the chat, why aren't they any good? Is it because Dak sucks or because Jerry's something?
It's always something. But I think to me that I look at it like I answered a Twitter question this morning. I was kind of like, somebody was complaining about the running game, and I'm like, Saints didn't really care that they weren't getting. They know you're not going to run the ball, and they made you one-dimensional by the way they played that game yesterday. If you're scoring on every single possession, you're making the other team very one-dimensional. I think they made Dallas very one-dimensional there.
Did the Cowboys acknowledge that they have no idea what their running back room looks like by the fact that the first couple of drives, it was like Zeke's the starter. And then in week 2, he doesn't play on the first 2 drives and it's the other guys that are getting run. And like, are they admitting that they're like, we have no idea. We're just hoping somebody can do something.
This reminds me, and people are going to hate me saying this, reminds me of LSU. I'm watching the South Carolina game this weekend, and we
go Tigers.
Go Tigers. And the LSU was trotting out 3 different backs, and then they kindly figure it out, and then like they put the other backs back in. There's a kid running, and he's just a freshman. He's just tough. He's running, and I text David Hellman, and I'm like. This kid doesn't need to come off the field. And what do? They put the other guys back in, and then the freshman comes back, and I'm like, that's it. How long does it take? But yeah, Dallas is in a situation where we all understand where the running game is. It's something we've talked about. Yesterday, I don't think it was the reason why you lost the football game. I think the Saints' ability to the ability for them to score basically on every possession was the reason why you lost that football game yesterday.
Was there anything that you're seeing? I mean, it's one game, so you could easily just give a bunch of credit to the Saints and say, if you see them again, hopefully you prepare better and you give it a different result.
I hope they play like this against Philadelphia here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that would be great.
I think they got Philadelphia coming up.
Was there anything in this game that you can actually take and say, the Cowboys have to actually do something about this? Like, is the defensive tackle room not good enough? Or do they need to be on the lookout for a running back? Are you okay with the wide receiver room? Tolbert made some plays, but I just felt like non-CeeDee wide receiver without Ferguson, it was just like, geez, everything looks so difficult for this team.
Yeah, it was good to see Schoonmaker at least make some plays. That was helpful. I was kind of thinking that maybe in this game you could have taken advantage of the Saints safeties. We saw on the touchdown the way that Tyrann Mathieu is, he's so aggressive that, he's over there. Adebo is over there. Adebo is trying to cover, the Lamb gets in between Mathieu and Adebo, and the ball's there, and then boom, Mathieu overruns, and now you're got a touchdown. And so, I didn't feel like you really kind of took advantage of what the Saints, you never could really take advantage of anything because just how you couldn't even get a stop. I mean, if you get a stop, maybe you could put pressure on the Saints, but you never could get a stop. I mean, it got to the point in time where I even felt like at half, I'm like, damn, okay, if they could just score a touchdown here, right before half and try and double dip this thing and get back into it, because I think the Saints would be on the ropes a little bit. But, Brooks runs the route. He falls down on the break. Dak's going to throw it to him thinking he's there. I mean, that's just kind of the way the game was going. You didn't play great on defense, and then when you have a chance for a big play, you fall down on the end cut. And it's an interception, and now what do? They take the ball and get points out of it. You're just like that. That's kind of the way the day was going yesterday for Dallas, and it's but to your question, is there anything you can do,
or is there anything? I think it's more. Is there anything that you feel like you have to do something that's not just, hey, we got to scheme better, do better, play better? Is there anything out there that just isn't going to work?
Yeah, the thing is that if you continue to play Joseph and Phillips, there could be some liability problems there. It might be, Mozzie got up the field a couple of times, but man, it's so evident that if your linebackers get blocked, you're killed in the running game. Those guys are the ones that are going to make the plays. And hey, it wasn't a great game for Kendricks. Like I say, overran the screen. I mean, there were times he got pinned inside. Was it all his fault? No. It wasn't great for Clark. It wasn't great for Leofau. Wasn't great for Overshown. They weren't. Micah wasn't. I mean, the times they ran at Micah, they pinned him inside. I mean, you want to talk about if if your linebackers get blocked in these games, teams are going to run the ball on you. That's just the way it is going to be. It's you could, we even kneeling a couple of times, you're thinking, okay, he gets pinned inside or he gets kicked wide. You just don't have that ability. The Saints, I'd love to. I don't know anybody at the Saints that I could call up and say, hey, listen, you went into this game believing that you could win on the perimeter running the football. What gave you that? Was it something last year? Was it something that Green Bay did? Was it something that, was it? I mean, it's a new coordinator and some new personnel. I don't know what the Saints did or their plan was. Hey, they're not good enough at, because you can watch the Cleveland game, and the one thing from the Cleveland game is like, hey, we don't want to get in third down. we don't want to get in third down with this team, but we'll, but man, I mean, at one point in time they were killing you, and it was like the Saints were like 4 for 4 on third down. And we're already late in the third quarter. I'm like, man, they have not had a lot of third down opportunities.
Third down.
Yeah, they never got the third down. They just never. But my feeling, Jeff, is that if teams block your linebackers, you're going to have problems in the running game. You're going to have problems like you saw yesterday in the running game.
Okay, now is this one an overreaction from me because it's something that I kind of wanted to see in training camp also? When I watched the touchdown where Shaheed literally just split the safeties and ran by both of them, and you're in cover 2. That's an interesting coverage plan for cover 2. You're the safeties. We're supposed to be safe because you're down there, but Donovan Wilson decided he was going to pretend he was going to cover a deep crosser first, and they go, oh, God, there's somebody running further, and he's coming to my half. Yeah. Can I get some Juan Thomas? Or yeah.
Can I say something real quick on that? Carson's got to do a better job at the jam. He let Shaheed run underneath him and really didn't do anything to affect the route. Now, I'm just saying that from the start of the play, if you're going to, because you had a chance, you got a late pressure. Now, if Shaheed could run. I mean, Shaheed can flat run.
It's fast.
Yeah, but you've got to find a way, if your technique is to jam at the line and then bail to the third, you've got to find a way, or the quarter, you've got to find a way to get your hands on that guy and hold him up. You can't just touch him and then watch him run, a 4-3 up the field on your safeties. It was a beautiful pass. God, it was a beautiful pass.
That was a good ball.
But the jam at the line of scrimmage has to happen. If you're going to play that coverage, you've got to get that jam. And Carson didn't get the jam. And that's what really allowed the play that allowed Shaheed to have the momentum to get to where he needed to be.
Brian, should we quit on the season, or are we going to go ahead and watch the next 15? What do you think?
Oh no, we're going to watch the next 15. We signed up. We signed up for the whole year.
Yeah,
we signed up. I mean, you think about what I'm always interested in is the why. The next day, I've got a little of that corner in me when the body's laying there on the slab.
Oh no!
And yeah. I want to figure out how we died. Hey, we survived last week. We died this week, but there's always something to learn when you die. You kind of figure out, well, hey, we can prevent this. Maybe there's something we could do to prevent from dying again this week. But I'll say this, Jeffrey.
There's always something to learn when you die.
There's always something to learn when you die.
Okay.
For people who are still around, they can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm. You know what I meant, Jeff. I
okay,
didn't mean when you're actually dead. I mean, you're not going to learn anything. You're dead.
Right.
But others could maybe survive because of your loss. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. We learned our lessons. Yeah.
We learned our lessons today. Somebody's going to comment about this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you got a Ravens team coming in, and I always believe in the desperate team theory.
Which team's desperate, though? The Ravens just lost to the Raiders. It's a double desperate team theory.
0-2. 0-2 desperate team come rolling into your backyard,
Oh, boy, and if you have trouble stopping the run, have fun with Derek Henry and Lamar Jackson.
I just wonder, but, Jeff, this when you really, really, really sit down, and I know you will. I know it's early
this afternoon, right after the show, sir. I'm going to catch up to you.
Yeah. You'll see if your Cowboy linebackers are blocked or overrun plays, you're going to have a hard time playing really good defense because that to me, that's kind of your key. That's the key. So
Brian Alec wants to know in the super chat if the Joneses have opposition to modern offense, motion and pin and pull.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, they tried a little last week with some traps and things like that. Yeah, the motions and stuff. You don't see a whole heck of a lot. I'll tell you what, the Saints, that's a fun team to watch just because they play with a fullback. Not many teams do this.
Under center, play action, throw bombs.
Yeah, nobody plays with a fullback anymore. And here you got Taysom Hill's kind of as a fullback, and Pernice and Foster Moreau, and you kind of like listen, we might not be very good up front. We're kind of like our right tackle was a left tackle we drafted in the first round, and he was god awful, and we had to move him to right tackle, and we had to draft that kid Fawaga is going to be a good player for them.
Oh yeah,
but they got a good left tackle, they got a good center. Ruiz, when those guys when they make you fight blocks, they're tough. You just never could make them. You just never could make them. You never could pressure them enough or get them out of every play they ran. Just seemed like it was a gash play. I mean,
it was gross. Yeah,
gash play every play. But
can I do one more thing? Just one more question to you.
Sure.
Because then I got a stupid meeting. I hate meetings, but I have a meeting. How is the Cowboys left tackle and right tackle?
The right tackle struggled more than the left. It's funny. The left tackle, you're going to get one time a game where here you are, Dak, and you run 5 vertical on the goal line down there, and you give up a sack. That's tough. Like you get spun inside. Grandison, takes you a little up the field. He gets all your weight on your right foot, and now he spins back to the inside, and you just can't quite get back to the inside to get him. Left tackle there's going to be days. His technique looked better in this game than it did last week. He was in survival mode last week, and this week Young is a challenging guy for him, but it wasn't like, of course not blocking, Garrett, but he was better. And as a whole, the line, it's just, as you said, the offense, it just wasn't clean. There was nothing really. There was a couple times where plays were blocked up like they needed to be, but I could say the right tackle, he's going to give up that one, and it was really a hard one to give up because here they needed points, and they had to kick a field goal and they give up the sack, but the routes were 5 vertical and no one open. I see why the quarterback, pulled it. It's just where's the crosser? Where's the And besides that, they missed. Early in that game, they get down there and they miss a throw to Zeke that would have been a walk-in touchdown. The red zone stuff is troubling to me. People kind of talk about running game and this, that, and the other, but the red zone stuff is not exactly clean. I mean, it's not exactly very, it seems like to me it's a pass and then it's a run and then it's another pass. And there just doesn't seem like, there's, any type of the Saints running it in from the 12, running it in from the 7.
Jerks.
You're kind of like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. But it's a lot of things need to work on.
Well, Brian, thanks for educating us, and we'll do this 15 more times. How about that? Well, 30 more times on a show, but 15 more times.
Why not?
Games being played.
I hate if it makes people feel better at Bryan Broaddus. If you want to just call me a jerk and say I said too much about this and don't give the Saints any credit or anything like that, feel free. If it makes you feel better, I'm here for you, folks.
All right. Thanks, Brian. You're the best. You're amazing.
Take care, Jeffrey. Enjoy the tape this afternoon, huh?
All right. Hey, everybody, remember, I know it's tough today.
It's tough.
It was tougher yesterday. It's probably a little easier
tough
today than it was yesterday. But remember that you have no idea what all the other people in the chat are going through. So be cool to everybody. We love you. Be easy.